Good evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book, and we are on book 2, and we are on the item multiple lives. We're talking about we are going to start on gender of spirits. We started study last week, youth, children, discarnation of children, and why and how it happens. And now today we are going to start on this very controversial subject nowadays, which is gender, right? And so again, let's see what the spirits have to tell us, and we'll talk a little about how spiritism view nowadays gender and the problems, all the problems that come from this very important topic. Okay, Philip, you read for us.
Question 200.
Question 200.
Do spirits have a gender? Not as you comprehend it, because gender depends on the physical makeup. Love and sympathy exist among them, but founded on a similarity of sentiments.
Okay, so the answer from the spirits here, they start saying, not as you comprehend it, because gender depends on the physical makeup. What do they mean? We eternal spirits do not have a gender. When we become a perfect spirit, we will no longer be associated with a male or a female gender. But as we discussed a little bit on Sunday on our Q&A, and we are going to come back to that today, we go through several incarnations in one gender, and then we change to other gender because on our path of evolution, we need to acquire both the characteristics and the qualities of the female and male spirits. So, if I go back to the spiritual world tomorrow, after having lived this life as a male, I will most likely, very likely, continue to be a male in the spirit world, because that's how I identify myself and have identified myself through this incarnation. We have several incarnations in the same gender, and then we change gender in general. So when we talk about the differences that exist here in the physical world, they are important as of our level of evolution today. That's how we build families, how we build partnerships, unions. But again, we have to understand that there are different issues that affect both male and female spirits that are incarnated nowadays and are not completely comfortable with the gender they received at birth for several different reasons, and we talked a little bit about it on Sunday. But the important thing here that Spiritism teaches us is, again, we are all brothers and sisters. All forms of discrimination have no place according to Spiritism. We have to accept, we have to love, and we have to embrace everyone, respecting their preferences and their choices. And in related to the what's called different from the usual, let's say, because I don't like to I don't want to use the word normal here, because what is normal, right? But the usual, meaning males and females, as males and females comprehend the vast majority of humanity, but like all minorities of race, of all types of different minorities, right? We have to respect and embrace them without discrimination, without making people feel bad because they are different from the majority, whatever their case is. And again, we need to be very careful not to go to extremes. The important way is always the way of the middle, right? So we cannot get sidetracked by the discussions and divisions that exist in our world today. Always going back to what Spiritism teaches us. We are all eternal spirits. We are all brothers and sisters, and we should all love and respect each other and each other's choices. Again, the concept of right or wrong according to the divine laws are important also for us to understand and to try to practice on an individual basis. And the concept of right and wrong can vary, but the natural law is one and it's perfect. Okay? I think that was my speech, gender. If you have any questions, comments, we can discuss a little bit more. 201, Philip?
Can a spirit that has animated the body of a man animate the body of a woman in a new existence, and vice versa? Yes, the same spirit can animate both male and female bodies.
We discussed that, right? So the spirit does not have a gender, the eternal spirit. It will animate the body of a male or a female or a man or a woman, and change whenever it's necessary. Now, whenever this change is traumatic, it can generate consequences for the incarnating spirit, right? Again, whenever you spend many lives as a male and then many lives as a female, and then you come and you start a new journey as a female, if it's a natural transition according to the natural laws, it should not cause any disturbance on the incarnating spirit in terms of traumas, in terms of problems that they feel unbalanced with the physical body. But whenever there is a traumatic change that sometimes has to happen because of karma, you know, you spend many lives abusing the other gender, and then you have to come incarnate in that gender. The same thing happens with races, with religions. You know, you have to change races, religions, and it can become very difficult for a spirit in this new incarnation with a physical body that they don't identify themselves with because of traumatic experiences. Okay, again, this is one of the reasons, doesn't explain all the cases, because you can come, again, you can come, let's say, as an homosexual in a mission, right? 2 examples. You want to rescue a loved one, you want to be close to a loved one that is incarnating, that you know that is going to incarnate and be an homosexual. So you choose to incarnate as an homosexual, so to be close to this spirit you want to help. You have to reincarnate on a mission to bring the message of something. And you know that the message will be much better received if you incarnate as a male, even if you have spent many lives as a female, and you feel yourself as a female. So you incarnate as a male, but internally you feel like a female because that's how you spend many lives. Again, you are not going to be traumatized by that because you are here on a mission, but you show signs of the sensibility of a female while being a male. And you know, sometimes we have people talking about these famous male mediums that they have they pass the impression of being show themselves with a lot of female traits. And, you know, it can be the case of them coming on a mission as a male to disseminate the teachings of, you know, of the spirits, and choosing to come as a male because it will make their life more easy, and it will be easier for them to be accepted. If we can only think about Jesus Christ, right? Jesus Christ as a perfect spirit it's not a male or female, it's a perfect spirit. But if Jesus had incarnated as a female, he wouldn't be able to spread the message and to do the work that he did, because the females were completely oppressed and dominated at that time. Still, they are today in many religions and many countries, but so Jesus had to come as a male because of that. But to say that he's a male spirit, no, Jesus is a perfect spirit, so he no longer has a gender. Of course, he is going to manifest as Jesus, as a male, because that's how we know him. That's how it's easier for us to identify it. The same way that if my grandmother is going to appear in front of me, she's going to appear as an old lady, because otherwise I wouldn't recognize her, right? It's according to the necessities of the spirit manifested. Okay.
Just want to make sure that when you say gender, you're speaking of the biological factor, male, female, not talking about sexual orientation or sexual preference.
Yes.
202.
If nobody has any questions, yes.
Does a spirit, when in the spirit world, prefer to be incarnated as a man or as a woman? Spirits are indifferent in this regard, which is always decided according to the trials that they must undergo. Spirits incarnate themselves as men or women because they have no gender, and as it is necessary for them to develop in every direction. Both sexes, as well as every variety of social position, provide them with special trials and duties, and with the opportunity of acquiring experience. A spirit always incarnates as a man, would only possess the experiences and knowledge of men.
Okay, so when we are going to make our choices, when we are able to make choices on our incarnation, if we understand the process of reincarnation, are we going to prefer to be incarnated as a man or as a woman? If we are at a level of evolution that we understand our necessities, our needs, and what's more important for us in this coming incarnation, we will prefer to be incarnated according to the gender that will help us achieve what we need. So if we need to develop the masculine characteristics that are more common on men, we are going to choose to incarnate as a man. If we have to develop more characteristics that are more common to women, we are going to choose to reincarnate as a woman. Now, when you look at the differences between men and women today in terms of workplace and you know, the equality between men and women, we see with a lot of imperfections, the evolution of us as spirits, right? Because the eternal spirit has to have the same rights, regardless if it's incarnated as a man or as a woman. Same rights, same obligations. Humankind nowadays, in many societies, are moving towards that direction in giving both men and women the same opportunities and the same responsibilities. Of course, for the time being, right, man cannot carry a baby, a woman can. Is this going to change in the future as we become more and more evolved? Maybe, I don't know. But there are some things that still at our stage of evolution belongs to one or the other gender. But we see the signs of evolution of humankind and of the spirits, the more we share responsibilities, obligations, and rights, right? Again, I'm not saying that we are perfect, that we are far, far from perfection in that sense, right? There is still discrimination and persecution to women in many parts of the world, and including in the world, in the places that give them the same rights, there is discrimination. The same way that exists discrimination against race, against religions, against all the minorities. Anywhere you have a minority, you have the majority, members of the majority discriminating. Okay. Okay, that was the last question on gender. So, Danny.
So the example you gave about karma, right? The person is assigned to a specific gender to do those specific things necessary for that specific person. So in the case of race, we cannot change our race. We can change our religion, or maybe we can be born in a place to learn a specific religion, but then get out of there or get out of the family to rebel against that, right? But in terms of gender, now it's actually a very complex discussion. People are changing. They're choosing to change. So this change in gender could affect badly this person's necessity of going through this life as a man or as a woman?
Well, the change in gender through surgery, it's a very traumatic process. The person that changes carries a lot of physical consequences in terms of medicine, and it's a struggle, right? So for someone to choose that path, they need to be extremely uncomfortable with the gender they received at birth, right? Again, as we evolve, the spiritual world is always ahead of us, right? So nothing that is happening here right now is new to the spirit world. They know of our developments and our progress. So they know exactly the possibilities. We are never going to come here with the obligation, let's say, not the word is not coming, of having to change gender, right? With like we are never going to come with the task of assassinating anyone. It's a consequence of what we do, right? Of our free will. So again, changing gender is the free will. There is a lot of consequences, and there is a lot of prejudice against them that they are going to have to face. And that prejudice it's also a trial, right? A karma could be a trial or an atonement or something like that. And again, in terms of race, you said that we cannot change race. Yes, we cannot change race, but we can use it in a way that we may try to avoid, protect ourselves and things like that, right? Especially the more and more we have mixtures, we see more and more people choosing different paths to identify themselves. And all of that are valid and are choices of free will, right? And you can always try to minimize the problem of being a minority, you can move to places where you are at least not a big minority, or you can become, in case of races, you can go to places that you are no longer a minority, you are the predominant race. Religion, the same thing, right? You can move to a place that your religion is the major religion. But going back to the trends, right? It is a very difficult
I know.
experience for them, and to think that they will choose to do that just to affront society is really a lack of charity and a lack of understanding of human needs and human reality. Okay.
I have
Yes, Paco.
I have a friend who's a transsexual, okay, and she tells me that it was very, very difficult, okay, to make that transition. It's not something like you have to really have the I don't know, the strength, okay, to do that.
Yes.
But in this case, I'll sometimes see a transsexual because it's a, what do you call it, trials. It could also be missions, okay, in terms of acceptance, of gaining slowly more and more acceptance. There was a point in time in which homosexuals were discriminated.
Yes.
Totally. I mean, if they found out that you were homosexual, you couldn't even teach.
Yeah. No,
You know,
Oscar Wilde went to prison because he was an homosexual.
exactly. And transsexuals, I see them. I see them in both sides. Male to female and female to male, and they actually, you know, imagine you being. It must be very difficult because a homosexual is comfortable with his body.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't have any problems with his body image, but a transsexual, yes,
Yes.
yeah, oh yes,
On their own skin. Yes.
they don't see themselves and they look at themselves and they are not themselves.
Yeah.
And this particular friend of mine, I mean, she did very well. I mean, because she was a performer, she went all over Europe and all over the United States. So she was, when she did well in her transformation. Okay, but she tells me it was very difficult. Nowadays, it's so new people look at her as the forerunner of the acceptance today, or the minimal acceptance today.
Yeah. And
But they do have you know the same thing with the little kid that had AIDS. Remember, they used to go to the schools. It was because of that mission. The kids in school were allowed actually to be in school. But I see these things as a way of the universe gaining more and more acceptance of diversity. That's
Yeah.
how I look at it.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're going to go through that, black, white, Indian, or whatever. So who I ought to say? But those people nowadays that chose that route, I'm telling you, they have my respect. Oh yes, they have my respect. And let's not forget that the Stonewall Revolution in '69 was basically by transsexuals and impersonators. It was not the homosexual butch type. You understand? It was those ladies that actually fought the police.
Yeah.
So these are so figure that out. It's just wow. It was because of them that we didn't have to be under the mafia umbrella anymore. So think of that. I always think of that. Those ladies, those transsexuals were the ones that actually opened the door, the gate. Isn't that a mission?
And again, yes,
I believe
as I
so.
said, some of them will come here as a mission to bring acceptance, to bring understanding,
Yes, understanding.
that will bring, above all, acceptance, right? Because
Accept. I believe that's the key word. The one that you just said now, acceptance
yeah,
of themselves out of the larger majority.
yeah. And
Because we still have a long way to go, but you know they're not as discriminated as they were before. They don't have to be under the mafia umbrella anymore.
yeah,
You used to go to
today,
a bar, and you
you,
don't have to be hiding like I mean, some parts of the country still, because we have the case of what is the kid that was 20 years old that was you know uh, tortured and killed.
yes,
And the same thing with the black bird. They have because it was black. It was offered. It was not his. It was offered a ride, and those three guys actually killed him. In fact, this what's it called? Bird and shepherd is what do you call it? An act of, by the. It's a presidential. It's a federal issue now because of those two people, that black and that homosexual.
yeah.
Because it's so it shows us that they're opening doors. They're opening really doors if you think of it.
Yeah, it's progress, right? Everything
Uh,
we
exactly.
progress in different directions, and again, there is people say, oh, but there is abuse. There is also always abuse everywhere, right? There is discrimination and abuse everywhere. It's just a matter of learning to deal with it and learning to control what is right and it's abusive, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think every decision that you make generates a consequence. Period. And I believe there is a relative proportion to it, right? Such a big decision of changing gender, I would expect to have big consequences, because a big decision, proportionally speaking, should be big consequences. Now, it's important to understand the word consequence, it doesn't good or bad. It's just consequences. It could be both. You are not comfortable with the instrument that you had to work with. You modified it somewhat. What do you do with it now? That, I think, makes the difference. That's what really you have to account for somehow. Okay, you exercise free will, use the means of technology, advancements of medicine, and you are able to change your gender because we are not satisfied with it. Now you have the instrument that you want to have. What do you do with it? That to me is what really can make the difference. There is a group in Sao Paulo of transgender. It's led by a woman from the north of Brazil, that they are working help the homeless. They are all transgender. They were able to get enough money that they have a little place that they cook, they distribute food. Now they have the instrument that they are comfortable with, and they put it to good use. That to me is what you would have to adopt.
And like I heard in a lecture that some time ago, right? Nobody chooses to be a minority out of their own volition. If people had the ability to choose, they would choose to be part of the majority, whatever
Okay,
majority is.
that is true. That is
Race, gender, religion, nobody wants to be persecuted as a minority and go through that trauma. So if they are a minority, they haven't chosen it. It is what they are.
Yeah, they say that the greatest crime that was committed among against the Black American was not the fact that they were denied participation in the institutions of society, but the fact that they were taught to hate themselves.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
very possible. Yes. Okay, and Danny.
I have a follow-up question. Okay, I don't want to get into the discussion itself about the age, like in which people start showing that they want or they need to transition, or they're not comfortable, let's say, comfortable with their bodies. Like, as we were saying, they are not comfortable inside that body, that skin, right? So since we are younger, like as kids, closer to our spiritual nature, in sense of we are more connected to the spiritual world, and as we go to start adolescence, we start getting more like ingrained in the body, in the mature world, right? So in that case, that's very complicated, I understand. Would it be that the decision made younger makes more sense? Or I know, as you said, the consequences is there's a physical change, there is the families involved, the surgeries and hormones treatment. But in terms of the decision, would it make more sense that as they're younger, they are more in touch with their spiritual nature instead of getting older, or not necessarily?
I don't think so, because I think that when
Very good question.
while a child is growing and developing from until they become adults, a lot of things that happen in their lives, they don't know how to deal with it, and they are not sure in which direction they want to go. So I think it's the responsibility of the parents to moderate the impulses, to allow them to develop and get stronger in their choices, and not allow them to make changes, significant changes that's going to affect their future until they reach adulthood. Okay. And I think this applies to everything, right? You have to be very careful. Of course, there are some young people that show signs of being attracted to the same sex from very young age, and their characteristics are already very the opposite sex. But even that, I think it's the responsibility of the parents to not criticize, not suffocate them, but also to control their impulses, to allow them to grow into their own necessities, allowing them to make those choices when they reach adulthood. And again, adulthood can be from something from 17 to 21, depending on the maturity of the child and everything. So when you talk about human society laws, I think it's important that that children are not allowed to make some types of decisions until they reach a level of maturity that makes them more responsible for their actions, right? The same way that for For some things, they have to have the authorization of the parents to get married. They have to have authorization of the parents in most states, right? It applies to, I think it applies to other things in life. Again, it's a very fine line, because between the oppression and the allowance and finding the middle road, right? But I think it's important to allow them to grow into that reality that they want to deal with, and they will be more prepared, because someone that makes a transition when they are 13 years old,
No.
they are going to be bullied and victimized a lot from there to until they become adult. Is it the best option as parents to allow this to happen to them, or are we going to isolate them from society? So again, there is no clear answers here, but it's just a matter of allowing them to grow into a maturity that will allow them to make their own decisions with more chance of succeeding. And again, we make mistakes until we die. So we are going to make wrong choices as children, as adults, but the more you mature, the more you are able to make conscious decisions and then facing the responsibilities.
I think it's a very delicate, very difficult issue to deal with. I favor allowing children to be children. See where does it go? Especially for what you said very properly, that when we are younger, especially before 7 years old, we are not so integrated yet into our physical body. At least let's wait and see what's going to happen until that integration is more completed, how that the spirit will be more or less comfortable with that physical body. Things may change. Besides, there is no hormone replacement yet, at least until puberty anyway. At least we'll have to enter puberty. So I would wait at least until puberty and see what happens. Let children be children. When I was growing up, when playing house in our household, my older sister would be the daddy, I would be the mom. There was no problem. My father was curious. He hated that idea. As a macho man of his life, he would not accept it. But eventually, it's no problem now. Just let kids be kids. Let them do what they want to do while they are kids. Let them mature and integrate themselves into that physical world and see why it leads to.
Okay. All right. From one complicated subject to another complicated subject.
You know,
Family relationships.
I just wanted to make you aware that in New York City, there's a high school for gay people.
Speak
for
close
gay
to the
students.
Can you speak close to the mic? Paco, it's very low.
I don't know what it's. I want to say that in New York City, there's a high school for gay students. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Since
Yes, some of us
Yeah.
can.
But George, you cannot hear me.
now,
Yes.
yeah, try again.
Okay, I'm saying that in New York City, there's a high school for gay students because they are bullied so much in the other schools that they go to that school.
Yeah. And
So,
again,
and you also have to remember that some people, there was a time in schools that when you were left-handed, they would force you to write with the right hand.
yes.
Okay. So what the point is that whatever manifestation the child is exhibiting, the parents should be supporting and guiding the child, not to make the child feel ashamed and guilt. Because that's the key that most homosexuals still suffer, especially from my generation, which is internalized homophobia.
Yeah.
Just like, they hate themselves. In their growing up years, they wanted to die.
Yeah.
For not being, because they said that bad. Whatever it is, okay, I believe that a parent should always support, in whatever behavior and provide guidance. Always being around. But because that's what a high school is, a high school for gays. Because the people are sometimes mean.
And again, we all bring our own prejudices, right? So
Yes.
it's an exercise of trying to control our own prejudices, learn to recognize that we have these prejudices and work to overcome them, right? And again, it's
Wow.
prejudice against everything, religion, race, gender, everything, because we all, one way or another, have it, right?
Yeah, but that what you're saying that takes the person needs to know himself in
Yes.
order to reach that point.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's something that it's a task that most of us do not engage in, because to get to know yourself is a risky and dangerous undertaking. You
Yeah.
understand? So it's not for the what you call it, for the faint of the heart,
No,
because no, when you get to know yourself and your life and your inner workings and your subconscious, it's just very, it's like they said, you commit suicide on the old self and you create a new person. It's a complete transformation. Socrates did say, I don't think if I agree with him, but anyway, Socrates did say that an unexamined life is not worth living, which goes back to unexamined, meaning you got to know yourself. But he said that, but I don't know if I agree with him, but
and again, the
it's not with
importance
yourself.
of Joanna de Angelis and all the psychological studies that she has, the books and everything, in the end is the know thyself that
Know thyself, exactly.
we have in the Spirit's book in the message by St. Augustine, right?
Well, here in this, in our studies here, what I've learned here is to be conscious of my spirituality. You understand? Yes, we study. We're not telling you do this, do this. We're telling you have taught us to say, well, whatever decision you take, there are consequences.
Yeah.
That's the system. That's the.
Yeah, and again, like I was said, there are consequences, can be positive or negative, because we think a lot about negative consequences, but they can be positive. Good choices
Exactly. Yes.
bring positive consequences. So make good choices, you have positive consequences.
Next one is a difficult one too.
All right,
Next topic is a difficult one too.
let's move into family relationships.
Wow.
Easy ones.
Also difficult.
Question 203.
Yeah.
Do parents transfer a part of their soul to their children, or do they only give them the organic life to which another soul then adds the moral life?
Okay.
Only the organic life is given by the parents because the soul is indivisible. A daft father may have intelligent children and vice versa.
Again, we are eternal spirits. We'll have many incarnations before, and we will have many other incarnations. Parents, they are our parents in the physical world. So what we inherit from them is our physical body. The characteristics of the physical body are inherited from the parents. The spirit is an eternal spirit, and it's not, it doesn't inherit anything from their parents. The moral qualities of a spirit, the imperfection of a spirit, it brings with him or her in the new incarnation, independent of the parents. Now, the physical needs that a spirit has for this new incarnation will be transferred from the parents, and in the reincarnation program that the spirits that are responsible for it take care, they are going to choose in the parents' DNA the characteristics that the child has to have for the physical body that he needs in terms of diseases, of the other problems and advantages that has to the physical body. But the spirit does not inherit anything from the parents, because the spirit inherits from itself as an eternal spirit. Okay. Go for.
Do our relationships extend beyond our present existence since we have had many lives? Of course. The succession of their physical lives establishes a variety of relationships among spirits, which date back to their former lives. These relationships are often the cause of the empathy or aversion which you sometimes feel towards individuals whom you seem to meet for the first time.
Okay, so of course, our relationships extend beyond our present existence, right? As we are eternal spirits, we preserve our relationships that we have, and we are surrounded by spirits that can be classified in 3 different categories, right? Our loved ones, our enemies from the past, or if you don't want to call enemies, the ones we have problems in the past, and the ones that are new to us that we don't know from our past. And we will always have all these 3 types of them around us. How we identify? Well, the ones that we truly love around us, that we have deep sympathy, affection, and again, this goes beyond the family, right? Talks about relationships, are probably relationships from the past that we are being reunited. The ones we feel a natural antipathy or aversion, as they say here, in our families or outside, in our workplaces and things like that. Sometimes you feel something towards a person you never seen before. This can be something that from the past, and our responsibility, if we want to evolve, is to deal with these individuals and try to improve the relationship as much as we can on our side. We cannot do anything from their side, but we can and should do on our side. And then there are those spirits that are new to us, but sometimes we can have affinities for same tastes, share same interests, and then develop a relationship that will carry on for the future. So yes, relationships will extend beyond our present existence and will carry on for many more existences. Again, our true affections will never be lost. We can be temporarily separated from them, but they will always be part of us, of our journey as eternal spirits, being reunited with them whenever it's possible for both of us. Okay.
But the whole cycle is towards empathy, because even when the ones that we hate, it's going to come a point in which we're going to reconcile with them. We're going to extend forgiveness. So it'll be, everything, we're moving towards love among all of us.
Yes.
Okay, so even the enemies that we have now are here because it's a lesson that I'm learning from them too, about myself. If I hate them, let's say if I hate them, it's a lesson for me to examine the hatred and how is it serving me, and then hopefully I'll outgrow that hatred. So I do believe that all experiences are lessons that God would have me learn.
You're right.
You understand? So even those things that you would find difficult, people difficult, everybody who's in front of you is is your teacher.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
Agreed.
But it's not an automatic, right? It's eventually you're gonna love one another, brother and sister. But it's not gonna happen just by magic, something that.
No, no, of course not. It's gonna protect a few lives, yes.
Yeah,
In this process, you might have to reunite with those to whom we have to readjust a relationship multiple times. And that is what you're talking about now, family relationships. You know,
Yes, I agree with you. It has to be, yes.
a lot of things to readjust with and may require more than one reincarnation together to get to that level of loving one another.
But yeah, when not reincarnate together, but eventually at the very end, all is love.
well, you know,
And don't forget that.
the objective is to love everyone equally, right?
Exactly,
First the family.
exactly.
But until we get
Exactly.
there, we need to practice, to exercise, to find way to overcome.
To overcome the hatred and to extend forgiveness.
Yes. And that's why also the loved ones are around us to help us in this process, right? We make use of them also. They are the support that we need, the strength that we
Exactly.
need in this journey. Okay. Right, let's do one more.
205. It would appear that for some, reincarnation seems to destroy family ties by carrying them back to periods prior to our present existence. It extends rather than destroys them. On the contrary, the idea that present relationships are based on prior affections makes the bonds between members of the same family less precarious. It makes the duties of siblinghood even more crucial because your neighbor or your servant may be the incarnation of a spirit who has formerly related to you by blood. Subsection A. Regardless, it diminishes the importance that many people give to their ancestor, since we may have had a spirit that has belonged to a different race than our father, or one that has held a different social standing. That is true, but this importance is usually based on pride because most people honor their ancestors' title, rank, and fortune. Many are embarrassed to admit that they have an honest shoemaker for a grandfather, but boast being descendants of a debauchee of noble birth. No matter what people may say or do, they cannot prevent the actions of divine order. God has not established natural law to meet the demands of human vanity.
That's a good one. I like that.
So, of course, there are those that when they start studying reincarnation, they seem to think that because we come in different families and we move from one place to another, that the concept of reincarnation would destroy family ties, right? Because the one that is my mother in this incarnation was nobody related to me in previous incarnation and was a friend in the other reincarnation. So this doesn't help build family ties. And the spirit says that on the contrary, it extends, right, rather than destroys, right? Because when we understand that we are surrounded by those that are around us because of our own needs and their own needs, and we look beyond the present existence as walking towards the universal family, it makes the reincarnation process and the family ties stronger, right? Because, you know, when you understand that you don't lose a loved one that has returned to the spiritual world. You only separate from them temporarily. It gives you strength. At the same time, when you think about someone that is very difficult in your present life, and you understand that if you don't make an effort to repair the relationship, it can come back next life again close to you, and you are going to have to go all over again. It may force you to rethink your relationships and to strengthen the bonds that unite, and to try to overcome the differences between you and those that are difficult to us, right? And then Kardec asks about ancestry, right? And it's interesting because nowadays people are, again, very interested in ancestry with these programs that
Oh yeah, the DNA, yeah, ancestry.
blood, 23andMe, right? And people are finding surprising ancestry in different origins, different countries, and even different things they didn't expect. But the reality is that the blood is not really what matters. What matters is the relationships, right? The blood, family blood is important for this incarnation in terms of our relationships, but
Exactly.
our great-grandparents that we never met, they may not be familiar spirits to us, right? Maybe they are taking care of us. Maybe it has nothing to do with us. It has to do with our parents or with our grandparents. So again, as we say here, that the Spirit says, and the ancestors' title, rank, and fortune matters very little, because what matters is us as eternal spirits, what we are doing with our evolutionary path. So, let us focus on how we are working on progressing ourselves instead of focusing too much on titles and other things of ancestors.
That's true.
Honor our ancestors, yes. Again, there's nothing wrong in honoring them and learning more about them, and even feeling happy of being part of someone that was important for one reason or another. But that doesn't give us any more right or any more privilege than others, right? Okay. All right.
Wow, so it's 8 o'clock already.
We are going to stop here. We continue next week. Any final questions, comments? There is only one more question, but we will leave for next week. Okay. All right. So what do we have this weekend? This Saturday, we have a lecture by Yuri Castro from Orlando. He's going to talk about shine wherever you are. So this is at Saturday at 11 a.m. through the United States Spiritist Federation YouTube page. This Sunday is the first Sunday of August. So we are going to go back to the book Between Heaven and Earth. And I forgot the chapters that we are. I think it's 29 and 30, but I'm not sure. I don't have it. Oh, I have it here. One sec. I'll tell you. Heaven and Earth, chapters 31 and 32. Okay, so 31 is a new struggle, and 32. Okay, Carol, can you do our final prayer? Thanks.
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much, John. Thank you, Elmo. And thank you, let's see, Philip. Thank you, Philip, for reading this evening, and everybody else who has been participating. Infinite Creator and infinite intelligence, we give thanks to be together again for our studies of the Spirits book, Book 2, Chapter 4, which is Gender of Spirits and Family Relationships. We are eternal spirits and brothers and sisters. The eternal spirit does not have gender, but may take incarnation as a male or female. A spirit may choose special circumstances to work out their trials and duties as a specific gender. Changing gender involves free will. However, it may be a difficult challenge. It may come with things that are unexpected for the spirit, even with the medical advances and societal awareness. Be conscious of spirituality and know thyself. We may have attraction or aversion to our family members due to prior existences together. We will have to readjust our attitudes as a practice to overcome the differences in order to love fully. Let's progress. Let's be proactive in our actions. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us this evening. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, the counselors, the mediums, the workers, and all participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace, and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected by day and by night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. May we go forth now as beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.